なるほど。Change!
At Carmilla's, Big Borda is tracing plans and realizing that this is going to be difficult. Again, that they are going to need bodies for Hector. Again, that they won't have bodies to feed on. Again. But this time, Chocolate Pie has an idea. Hiring the mercenaries working for their enemies. That should be enough to supplant Carmilla's forces and cripple theirs. All they need is money, and they have it. Which means that all of this is even more pointless than it already was. The whole issue was that you didn't have enough forces to police over the vast area Carmilla wants, without leaving half of your kingdom open for an attack. Therefore you need Hector to reinforce your army, but that would leave you without anything to feed on. If buying the mercs from your enemies is enough to support your numbers and ease the situation on your borders, then what the fuck is this waste of time? How many mercenaries do they have? Are they going to reduce the amount of bodies you are going to need for forge masting and make Carmilla's plan work? Does that not mean that you don't need forge masting anymore? If they have that many mercenaries, why didn't you do that from the beginning? Hell, turn the mercs into intelligent demons. You will reinforce your power even more and get your money back. Why is Big Borda, the leader of your armies, acting like she just realized the mercenaries work for money? Is she actually supposed to be a dumb meathead?
Yes, soldiers, mercenaries, local forces. What's the difference?
Oh, she actually is.
But there's no honor in that.
You are a vampire. You are fighting dirty by default.
There's been no intelligence.
Oh, that explains everything. Carmilla then shows up, solely to be told what they have been doing over a drink.
Wait. You call it a scheme?
That is it. Nothing of value to add.
I can hear you through several walls and 3 snoring boys.
You know what? I'm not even going to bother. Meanwhile, at the Belmont Hold, Sumitaka arrives at the conclusion that Alucard is holding back some information from them because he's lonely and wants to die, so he's stalling to keep them here. The conversation is already as stupid as it gets. It sounds less like they are talking to each other and more like they are talking to the viewer, because you wouldn't get it otherwise. But the main stupidity here is we are actually operating on the idea that they have been here for more than a week, and that's already too much. The story doesn't seem to understand that Alucard is a half vampire that grew up really fast, so he got to train quite early. Trevor was raised to be a monster hunter, so he got to train quite early. Sypha should have very basic combat training for the life her people live. Half the shit she has been doing recently is a massive stretch, but she likely trained her magic from a very young age. They had years to get to the level they are, and it should take you years to get anywhere close. It's only been a week, tops. You can't keep acting like anything in this plotline is justified.
Oh god, not this again.
Back at Lindenfeld, the monster under the monastery seems unfazed by everything at first, but before Germaine can get closer, it suddenly reacts. Luckily, it is nailed to that loose piece of wood, or else Germaine would be dead. He runs off only to meet the prior on the main floor, who is very suspicious of him, but Germaine talks his way out of it by saying he was simply stretching his legs.
Stretching my legs before I go outside, the knees, you know, not where they used to be.
He should be fucked, but he rolled a 20, so he's fine. He compliments the books and how much he learned while trying to tiptoe out, but the prior questions his findings, so Germaine tells him that attempts to contact Hell have been made in the monastery before, to the prior's extreme surprise.
You mean we are not this has happened before, in the past?
Instead of banking on their shock and maneuvering the situation to get on top, Germaine feigns fear over the possible contamination of the building with hell particles.
I myself may have developed a nasty cough and a slight limp. You shouldn't be here.
It doesn't help that the prior just came back from searching for the 2 missing monks, meaning that he should be really weary right now, but he waves it off, as their work is almost done, so he lets Germain leave.
You're absolutely right, Prior. Flee!
I hope that doesn't come back to bite them in the ass.
So,
Well, would you look at that? We cut to Trevor, Cypher, and the judge interrogating the monk. For some reason, Trevor thinks their numbers mean anything, so he asks about that instead of something that is actually important, like what the fuck is even happening in there. The monk says that their numbers are lesser than before because they have been going to other towns spreading the word, which should be concerning, but that is not relevant to the plot in any way, as usual. Cypher suggests that they could also be victims, because some demons can use magic, so they could be mind-controlled. Partially that's true. When the plot wants them to, they can use magic, but mind control? Let's not take that as a possibility. Please? Suddenly Germain barges in, and declares he has realized the obvious.
the priory is in ruins. I suspect it's been deconsecrated. There is a night creature being held on a basement level, symbols drawn around it. The corridor is in that same basement.
Who could have thunk? He mentions that somewhere, at some point, without it ever being shown or even implied to us, he discovered that the Necronomicon indicates how to achieve the rebus, the end goal of alchemy, the process to fuse two people that have died and come back into a single entity, as he puts it. Considering the monks didn't know about the book, and by default the demon didn't either, their goal cannot be the rebus. Why are we mentioning that right now? Well, for literally no reason. Yet. The judge finally decides to assemble his men, but he will do it slowly, to not alarm the already alarmed monks, and wait for sundown, because the people will be indoors, where all the symbols were carved. I feel like that is a bad plan. It doesn't help that Germain doesn't even try to tell him they know about the two missing monks, and that they weren't that bothered about it, because their work is almost done.
Do we really have time to wait for sundown?
This is my town. You do as I say.
So, you know, we should probably get on with it. But we need to manufacture tension and character moments, because Trevor and Cypher are going to help him reach the corridor. They are helping him, selflessly. Get it? They had a conversation about loneliness and sadness, so, you know.
I'm so sorry. I'm simply not used to people being kind to me for no reason.
That's enough.
The corridor is not dependent on the demon. It's not going to disappear if he doesn't reach the place today. You are on a time limit. He isn't. It doesn't mean anything. It's just some quirky dialogue.
Keep it down. We don't want anyone to hear.
It's a fucking joke.
He saw a man try to kick a cat once, and he broke the man's leg in 3 places.
But the writer doesn't realize that.
3 places. I heard 3 cracks.
Poor bloody cat. Wasn't hurting anyone.
Moving on.
You have shown us the truth.
Oh god, it doesn't get any better. The prior tells the demon they have restrained and left it to ponder, as it asked. He knows it asked that, so he has no reason to say it. It's for the viewer. He also tells the viewer what their intentions are, in case you weren't paying attention.
God has abandoned the earth. Dracula must be brought back.
Meaning he should have been extremely curious about the Necronomicon, about the missing pages, about the Mad Forge Master, and extremely bothered about Germain finding that out. But he wasn't, because the plot says so. The Necronomicon exists solely to set up Season 4. As is, the characters already have everything they need to move the plot along, therefore the book cannot be used to assist the protagonists nor the antagonists, so the story is now stuck in this awkward position of having to acknowledge the book and pretend it doesn't exist, and no one tried to find a solution for the problem. If you remove the Necronomicon from the story, nothing changes. It cannot serve any point beyond being an unnecessary setup. It's a waste of time. And if that is not enough, we have this beautiful declaration the prior makes.
It is what he who forged you would want. We do this in the name of our visitor and his forge master, Isaac.
The creature is too big to move around the castle properly. He can find magic gateways, mentally communicate with people, and give them knowledge about things his creator shouldn't even be aware of. He shouldn't be able to make this, unless you are suggesting the demon knew about all of it from its previous life and is acting of his own accord. Carmilla kept mentioning how the local demons are lost and confused, so is that the excuse? He's affected by the lack of Dracula, because that would also be monumentally stupid. Out of all the souls in hell, Isaac just so happens to get one with a hyper-accurate, hyper-specific knowledge about the hyper-specific subject of bringing Dracula back. That's hyper-convenient. And it's hyper-inconvenient that neither Isaac nor Hector ever thought about learning from these demons, since they get to keep ancient knowledge from their past lives. Are they supposed to be that stupid? I mean, they are. I just figured they weren't meant to be. It is also quite inconvenient that it took them a month to get the plot going, for some arbitrary reason. Can you imagine if they had gone through with the plan before Trevor and Cypher arrived? I can, unfortunately.
When the sun goes down, we shall do what needs to be done.
From there we momentarily cut to Alucard, talking with Sumitaka. Apparently the armory of the castle is quite a sight, but Taka is a bit disappointed since he was expecting to see some magic weapons in there. According to Alucard, Dracula was such a powerful mage that he didn't really want any magic weapons. He preferred to leave physical things be what they are. Alucard, however, is more nuanced about it.
I don't have a strong opinion. Magic and science are two sides of the same coin to me.
Now, is that relevant to anything? Not really. It could have been an interesting bit of characterization if it had any influence on the plot surrounding Dracula or Alucard in any way, but it doesn't. You can keep this dialogue or remove it. It wouldn't change anything. The real problem is Alucard's weapon magic? Did he make it? Could he teach that to Trevor and Cypher? Could he make weapons for them? How can a single story raise so many questions that it cannot even begin to answer?
Are you sure the castle can't be moved?
I'm sure.
Anyway, Sumitaka decides to directly confront Alucard about his apparent omissions. We've been through this already, it should take them quite some time to learn everything they need, but this time, they accuse Alucard of burying them from certain rooms. He looks somewhat suspicious for a second and acts very dismissive about the whole thing.
We have plenty of time together, don't we?
If the idea is that he's so lonely that he's actually willing to lie in order to keep some friends around, then you can't keep this as it is without giving an example of what he would be hiding. They have seen the weapons, and if that's not a sign of trust, I don't know what is. The lab is on the base floor, and I don't see why he wouldn't show it to them. The engines of the castle are actually melted, and it seems like they have seen it. He took them to the Belmont Hold and allowed them to stay there alone to study. Yet apparently, he's still hiding something, and he just doesn't answer them directly, and they move on. This plotline is really baseless so far, and the characters being vague about it is not helping. Meanwhile at Carmilla's, Gingerbread and Hector have a very amusing conversation, not because it was intended to be. Hector came to see a different side to vampires, thanks to a book she gave him. It apparently goes into detail about their philosophies and views, but we don't go into detail about that, because it shouldn't be very different from human philosophies and views, as vampire society is clearly not that different from human society, but we need to make it seem like they are unique, because no one would expect that from them. They are not monsters, you know. She claims to like Hector and wants him to be free, but since he wouldn't survive very long on his own, even though he has been living like that since he was a kid, she wants him to run away with her. In spite of the love she has for her sisters, she thinks what they are doing there is wrong. She says that after she shows him a ring they have to symbolize their connection.
We could just leave, Hector, if you want to be with me.
We, including Hector, have no reason to believe any of that. I don't care how nice she is. If she wanted to run, she would have. She has shown no repulsion to anything happening in this castle. Quite the opposite. She admires everyone here, especially Carmilla, and actively tries to make him see them in a better light. He wouldn't believe her, but the plot needs him to, so he does.
Stupid.
And finally, after 8 fucking episodes, the judge marches to the priory. Sypha questions Germain about how the Infinite Corridor can be accessed, and he says it takes a lot of willpower, ancient knowledge, and something of your soul. And even then it can't be controlled properly. Last time he tried, it took him a year to recover. He took a year to recover from losing something of his soul.
Right.
What the fuck does that mean? Are we going to elaborate on it? Or are we going to forget about it? Take a guess. She also questions if the monks would know of it, but Germain says the opening is invisible to the human eye.
That's why I need the jewel.
Really? Well, if only they were being led by something that isn't human.
I think we've made a terrible mistake.
They are actually pretending that this situation is in any way complicated. It isn't. She literally put it together before. The demon, the lights, the monks, the visitor, the magical gateway, hell. What could they possibly be planning?
Prior Sala, when you were a simple man of the
Don't stop to give a speech, break in and kill them. You don't have the time. They are literally making an edgy version of the crucifixion of Christ, with pentagrams and everything.
You will vacate the priory. Throw your weapons out as you exit.
Are you stupid?
Sala, I know you have deconsecrated the priory. God is no longer in that house. You enjoy no protection.
Oh, you are, aren't you?